pains of improv sometimes. Hi, I'm Mike, and I'm on camera.
And I'm Tory, and I'm also on camera.
He's got a face.
I do.
See, it's the first time we're all seeing you, me included, because there's no camera, so it's just like a disembodied voice.
Well, when I was on the way here today, I thought, what if they think I'm an AI? Wouldn't that be weird?
Well, we still haven't disproven that. You could be an android designed by Dr. Noonien soon. So, let's see. We're doing a commentary video today, and this is actually the first video of this type we've done on the channel, which is where there's a camera and there's our faces.
Yeah.
And audio and video, and it's crazy how these things... We invented this just now.
It's quite the web.
Copyright now, me. Pay me my money. So we're going to go through the Lord of the Rings review video here. I'll talk about some of the making of trivia, other quirky things, and just kind of overall talk a little bit about like Lord of the Rings and such, which is a big focus of this video, the game, and a little bit about the movies and so on. But let's get started with the video here. This was the 13th video of this type. Videos like this were meant to be like the core lifeblood of the channel, but they are really hard to make, and I want to work hard on them, so I haven't made as many as I'd liked to since the channel started. I mean, the channel's been around for going on 2 years now, and there's 13 of these, and like God knows how many other types of videos across the channel. But
175 total videos.
Ugh, I wouldn't. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
It's like over. It's definitely over 150. So yeah, 13 of which with this. But they're fun to make. A lot of skits and whatnot. This one is completely out of control. This is what happens when I just go nuts, and like every idea makes it in there, and it's a monster of a video. And I do feel bad about how long it is. I didn't think it'd be that long when I was editing it, truthfully.
Really?
Like as I got further in, I was like, oh, this is 30 minutes. And then I'm getting, this is 45 minutes. This is an hour and 10 minutes, and then I cut some of it to bring it down some. But
yeah.
But I mean, hey, like, you know, I don't do that every time, obviously, because the one that came after this is the Strikers review, and that one's 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, I can do short videos, but they don't have as much fun stuff in them. But I am learning. So let's get started. So as it plays out, we get these exterior establishing situations here. One interesting thing is this is filmed outdoors. However, most of what you hear during this is not outdoors. With the exception of just the ambient noise of the outdoors, I separately recorded every sound effect you just heard.
Huh.
Even the individual footsteps are me with a shoe and a brick, and I'm just
how interesting
tapping it down. And the reason I did that was you could hear everything clearly. So you wouldn't have to worry about the outdoors sounds, the cicadas, the leaves, the wind,
the squirrels.
The squirrels. They do make noise.
Yes.
All that isn't diluting hearing my voice or the other sounds. So it was all like recorded separately. It was that took a couple days just by itself, honestly, just trying to record all that and do all that work.
Right.
That ring is from the 4K collection of Lord of the Rings on 4K Blu-ray. It came with that edition of the collection, so you can put it on. It has the writing on it and everything. Made for a great prop.
Definitely.
Because it's just like the actual thing.
Yeah, right. We don't fake around here.
Not at all.
Spared no expense.
Spared no expense. I am glad to also see... Okay, it's 3D Dot Game Heroes review is coming at some point. Like, it's gonna happen. 8 years later, it's gonna come out. It's a fun little game. The shirt that I'm wearing is not the NASA shirt. I noticed that I unintentionally wore this like same NASA shirt for like all the videos.
Really?
In the early part of this channel's life, and I talk about it in a couple of these commentaries. So simple idea, you know, the rings influence, it's coming after me. Just a little basic effect to draw your eye more toward it, fading around the... it's called Dream Glow, I think.
Okay.
It's pretty basic. I'm trying to do like the Jack Black.
I love when you do stuff like this. When you do the cuts to and away.
Yeah, this is my favorite kind of thing to do. The red lights, that was easy. These are hue lights. They can turn red. Simple enough. That's not an effect. That was just real. I try to do it as real as much as I can. Like, you know, I don't have access to much in terms of special effects as it is, but most things are done like Sweden style for the channel. 3D dot game heroes for real this time, and then that was just same situation. Well, okay, hold on, my goofy face. I did a couple of takes of that.
Did you?
There's a couple, yeah, and then it leads into the opening, which I've made so many versions of this thing too.
Oh, nice.
I didn't make an opening like this until Volume 2, because I filmed the first 5 reviews all together.
Did you?
And they aired like in the same week when the channel went live for the first time. All the videos after that have a little opening sequence like this. I didn't do it before because I didn't have any clips to draw on. I had to film the stuff first, so...
Right.
This, though, being the 13th one, clips from all kinds of episodes. There's that NASA shirt. That's it right there. That was it. Oh, boy. So this is Gary the Wizard. It's like a monk outfit. Those are like work craftsman gloves from like Lowe's. Well, you can't. And the stick is just like a paint roller tool with a light bulb glued on top.
Nice.
Well, taped on top, I should say. Still ours. And I'm wearing my glasses. Those are my glasses too. I actually have those because I wear contacts normally.
Is that you?
Yeah. This is one of the rare times where I did it all myself. Sometimes I'd have my parents help me.
Right.
Because like when COVID first hit, which is when I made these videos, you know, I'm not trying to bring people over, hang around people.
That's
you know,
true,
it's
yeah,
like they were the best first party resource. Because my dad played the yeah. Very simple effect. It just cuts. I turn the camera on. I film me. I get out of the way. It's the same shot. Oh yeah, it's totally floating. You can't even tell.
Nope.
But hey, also from a sound design perspective, you can hear Animal Crossing boot up, but it's not recorded in this take. I recorded again that separately on its own. Put it in here. Trying to be all sophisticated with it.
Clever.
All for a silly situation like that. I had to redo the Gary scenes once, I think. I think I filmed them all and I didn't quite like how it sounded. I did it all again. Oh, you know what? There is one shot where it's my dad. He put on the costume for all of 20 minutes here. It's one of these moments right here where we're doing the back and forth. Behold.
Interplay, of course.
So I learned afterward that this is actually a PC port of this game. And there is a sequel. There is a Volume 2.
Okay.
Which I didn't know when I made the video. It wasn't until that's my dad right there. I'm trying not to laugh. It's just... Because you gotta do what's called covering the scene. Because I did take film classes at one point in my life. You gotta film all the same thing, all the angles. If you're trying to do it right, at least. That's what that was an attempt to do. But yeah, there's a part 2. I don't think it's on Super Nintendo though. I'm pretty sure it's not. It's only on PC.
Okay.
But they did make a part 2. I looked up footage. I think I looked up footage of the PC version. It looked kind of identical to what's on Super Nintendo.
Gotcha.
Yeah. We'll get into talking about the game though toward the middle. Yeah, I mean that line right there has some truth in it because I had no idea that this game existed until I saw it at the game shop. It was like $15, and I was like, "It's a Lord of the Rings game on Super Nintendo? Like, what the heck?" And like,
yeah.
when I played it initially, I wasn't thinking it would be something that I would want to make a video about, which is like what always happens. I have like a list of games that I'm like, I don't want to make a video about these games, like Star Fox Adventures, for example.
Right.
And I'll be like, all right, I'm going to go make a Star Fox Adventures video. And then I go to do it, and then something else pops up. I'm like, oh, but I got to do that. And that's what happened with this one. Because like I'm playing it for all of 10 minutes, and I'm thinking like, well, it's kind of basic. But then the Pip and Wolf thing happened, and I was like, I can see jokes about this happening. And then like it kind of went from there.
Right.
If that didn't happen, that Pip and Wolf thing didn't happen, this video wouldn't have been made. Because I would have been like, yeah, it's pretty standard fare. It's just kind of you walk around and stab things, whatever. But I am a giant Lord of the Rings fan. I never saw it. I only saw the third one in theaters when it was new. The first two, I was like adamant about getting to see them. I watched The Fellowship of the Ring on VHS for the first time, and I got Two Towers on DVD after it came out.
I saw all three of them in theaters.
Yeah. We saw the third one in theaters, which my dad does not go to the movie theaters very often. He's probably seen like less than 10 movies in theaters in his life.
Wow.
And that was one of them. It was a good time. Because I'm a big movie guy. I like the cinema experience. You know, I used to design home theater solutions for people, which is why I have all this crap. So I knew that I was always hoping to get Lord of the Rings on 4K from a surround sound perspective alone, and it finally happened. And I got that ring. Return of the King's really good. Haven't played the Third Age. War in the North is pretty good. Conquest is weird. Shadow and Mordor is really good. Shadow of War I didn't really care for. Here's my 2-second review for all these games.
Nice. Yeah, so the only ones that I've played are Shadow of War, Shadow of Mordor, and Return of the King on PS2.
Yeah, Return of the King's good.
It is good. Me and Thomas played it co-op, which was really fun. I think he used Gimli and I used somewhere else. I don't remember.
Gimli? He was allergic to his makeup. That guy's a trooper.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
He was allergic to the dwarf makeup. Happens every now and then in filmmaking. It's tough to work around that.
I bet.
I think the original Wizard of Oz, they had to recast the Tin Man for that exact reason. It was the first actor like almost died from like an allergic reaction.
Goodness.
Happens. Also has wizards, ergo related to Lord of the Rings.
Right.
There's a Lord of the Rings film, actually a number of them, that predate the Peter Jackson film.
Oh, here we go, the animated film.
The one that this game takes the most from is the Ralph Bakshi.
Yeah, because all the characters are like drawn from that movie in this game. Because this was the biggest thing to take that from prior to, the Jackson stuff. Because like anything Lord of the Rings, in some way, owes itself to the Jackson trilogy nowadays. Whether it wants to or not, it unintentionally takes from them.
Absolutely.
Or it just does, like with Spiegel in Shadow of Mordor. That's Peter Jackson's version of Spiegel. Like, it's just in that game. So, same idea with this situation. I did see that before I saw the live action ones, though.
Oh, same here. Yeah, definitely.
I remember it was like one of those like Christmas Story Pink Bunny situations, though, where it was like I was expecting to get the Peter Jackson movie, and I got that. And I was like initially like, this is the cartoon one. I want the real thing, but the animated one is not bad.
No, it's not bad at all. It's got some
cool stuff. Aragorn's cool as hell in that movie.
He is, yeah.
He's played by John Hurt, I think. Same dude that played Kane in Aliens.
Nice, wow.
Which is really cool. Yeah, that scene apparently didn't happen in the book. It was like only in the movie, and like Peter Jackson made a point to like make that his movie, which is kind of neat.
Yeah.
There's a couple scenes like that I think that they just like shot for shot did from that cartoon in the Jackson films.
Yeah.
To like harken back to that.
We had that on VHS for sure. I remember the front of that. I remember thinking how cool it looked. that big old sword, you know.
Yep. I bought it. I bought that DVD specifically just so I could have this conversation in this review. And I didn't own it before. I bought it like right before filming.
So it's kind of hit and miss, but it's a cool technology. The point of all that is even
Yeah,
back in the late
rotoscoping.
70s,
You just draw
Lord of
with
the Rings
animation.
were still doing landmark things for their
They did stuff that looks like that in that Chip and Dale movie, actually.
It's hard not
Yeah,
Peter
they definitely
Pan.
did. Yeah.
Peter Pan and Chip were similar looking situation.
Yeah.
in the 70s.
Peter Pan like had to have been, because you could just, he looks all weird and cell shaded when he runs around. That's like what rotoscoping can do.
Gotcha.
So I think they probably just did like a motion capture rotoscope situation with that. Wouldn't surprise me.
Hey, still cool. So
I say this every time I do commentaries too. Look at the games back there. You look at like the oldest video where I had that set up at these shelves,
Uh-huh.
and it's like they're all like half empty, and now it's like most of them are full.
Yeah.
Although it's kind of an illusion. I mean, you can't see behind the couch. Those don't go to the floor on any of them except for the Xbox one. But the GameCube one now is on the 4th level.
Yeah.
So it's 1.5 racks away from being full. That one's come a long way. And I have a dedicated one for Wii U now.
Mm-hmm.
Which I didn't have in that one. We need to get a dedicated one for Dreamcast. If I can even find any Dreamcast games.
the game opens up by giving us
Oh, here comes the skeleton thing. Dude, like, it's not as long, so, you know, obviously you have to exaggerate to make some of these jokes, right?
Of course.
It's not as long as I make it out to be. I think the overall, if you didn't press any buttons to go from, like, this part and then get to the gameplay is, like, 4 to 5 minutes. But, like, when you experience it in front
yeah.
of you, it feels like it's 20 years.
Yeah.
I remember thinking during capture, like initially playing, I was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
And then on top of it, it's all text too. Like you're not seeing
Right.
any of it. Like
Yeah.
imagine the whole opening of Lord of the Rings, going from like learning about the 9 rings, Sauron's ring, the war, he dies. Don't destroy the ring. Isildur keeps it. Imagine all that as text.
Ugh.
That's what it does.
Yeah.
Like it. How dare you? And then it keeps going. And it does the Shire part in text too, because this is covering up what's happening. There actually is like a crowd of little Hobbit models behind
really?
this. You only see it at the end though when Bilbo walks away. You can see it. So they're covering up the stuff that is actually there.
Right.
Hey, here it comes. Oh my god. 11 years. Alright, so we can pause that. So, it's all the same clothes I was wearing. You'll notice the Zelda shirts on there.
Yep.
Attention to detail. Continuity.
There you go.
But apparently I have no neck because the head's just like there. It's like Beetlejuice when his head gets shrunk. It's like
Right.
what it looks like. But it's so what it is it's 2 skeleton prop hands and 1 skull. It's a pillow that the shirt is around, and then I took like socks and stuff and like stuffed them in the sleeves and in the pants to inflate them. The pants are like half inflated up to the knee.
Right.
Just to give it like the overall height that it needs to be for it to be like semi-believable for all of 2 seconds.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a whole like little miniature like situation there. It took a little bit to set up. Put
Nice.
some effort into that one.
Well, it works. It definitely works.
And then the background noise, I think, is the soundtrack from the game. It's got this like super bleak like kind of thing, and I put that over it. Which initially I was afraid to do that in the early days of the channel. I didn't do that for the Metroid video. When I made that Metroid video originally, whenever I was talking about a given zone in the game, it would play that zone's OST.
Uh-huh.
So when I'm talking about Brinstar, you hear the Brin start. But then I got like kind of scared, like, oh, like it's soup. So I
Really?
took it out. But nowadays I'm like,
Screw it. You know?
if I get a copyright thing, I'll just fix it afterward, which I've done. So
Yeah.
it's whatever. Because you can upload things unlisted and then see what it tells you, and then you can fix it, which I've
Gotcha.
done a number of times. Yeah, there's the party. So it's all happening, right? They're all armed too. They all have swords for some reason, because they're just the default models, I guess. One really weird thing, I think I mentioned, I don't know. Gandalf leaves before the ring is given to Frodo in this game.
That's weird.
Which, and again, I think I mentioned, if I didn't, that's a missed opportunity for a joke, because it's like we've seen what happens when two hobbits are left alone with the one ring.
Yeah.
Smeagol strangled his buddy on the riverbank or whatever.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Oh, I'm saying it right now. Yeah, there. Okay, yeah, I did a whole thing.
So I haven't seen that.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I was like taking, because I tried to. This capture session was pretty sophisticated, because I was actually taking notes as I played, which I don't normally do. I should more often. But yeah, I was taking notes, and I was like, wait a minute, he just walked in and walked away, and then the conversation about, you didn't give me your ring, Bilbo, like that. You gonna fight me for it, huh?
So is that their HP at the top of the screen, or is that like your
Yes,
score? Or
that's
something?
HP.
Gotcha.
It's pretty generous with it out of the gate. And then like you level up, and you gain more attack power. So on. It's pretty basic in terms of what you do. I mean, it's serviceable. Like, it's fine. I think the one problem with it is that it's like Pokemon without XP share. So like Frodo's leveling up as you play as him, but then you get Pippin. Pippin's not level 1, and the only way he levels up is if he gets the killing blow on enemies. But like, to control the party members separately, there's a bit of a learning curve to it, and like that's how Pippin died, because I'm trying to figure it all out. He's level 1, so he gets killed faster, and he's dead. And I'm like, oh well, shoot. He doesn't respawn either. They're permadeath, which is bizarre.
That's crazy.
You can form your own version of Lord of the Rings,
Right.
where everyone's dead. No one makes that of Moria alive. You can't. You also the one ring is in your inventory too, but if you click it, it says I can't use that now. All right, Gandalf said I shouldn't use this.
Do you ever get to use it in the game, or
Not that I ever saw. You never go through any of the situations where you would though, because and what are they gonna do? They're gonna do like a bar sequence in the Prancing Pony.
Right.
QTs to drink beer and not hit the ring.
Well, I just thought that it would be like a super attack, or they would use it in some sort of way,
Invisible critical strike
or something. Yeah.
Nope. So that'd be too cool.
Right.
This game plays it safe in that regard. Well, it strangely plays it. It's really subjective in how fast and loose they play with certain things, with the way it all works, though. You go north, and then there's the wolf killing grounds. I also used my Retron 5 for this, so what you're seeing is technically an emulation. This is before I had the setup that I have now. So back when I would have captured this, which was like June 2021, I had... Oh no, I didn't have the 5X Pro yet. I had the RetroTink 2X Pro, but I had regular composite cables for the Super Nintendo, which looks good, but having a Retron 5, you know, like, what would you rather play? An N64 game off of like the Wii U Virtual Console, or like an actual N64 game?
Right.
One just looks way better.
Yeah.
Like, it's no contest. And that's how it was between these two machines. So it's that one right there, the purple and black guy. You can put you can play all kinds of. You can put NES, Super Nintendo, Genesis, Game Boy Advance cartridges. Can all go in there.
Wow.
And you can play them. And what it does is, when you put a cartridge into it, it reads it, and it downloads the data off of it, which is technically illegal. And then
Well, let's just keep that between me and you.
Well, it's only legal if you were to copy it somewhere else. It does it.
Right.
It does it in RAM, so it's not actually saving it.
Gotcha,
So what it does is it dumps the memory of the cartridge and then runs it on its own RAM. But the benefit there is now it's running as an emulation, so you get like 720p output. It's not being converted or enhanced. It's just being made like this.
Gotcha.
Which looks awesome. Yeah, it becomes illegal if you were to like use that to like say save a copy of it. then you're crossing into that like pirating territory.
Right.
And I have seen some machines like that do that.
Really?
Like you can build like a digital library of games on an SD card, and it's like that's cool, but also like don't tell Nintendo,
Right.
Because just because it's old, like the trademarks and copyrights are still a thing.
Oh yeah.
Just because they don't sell anymore doesn't mean they expired. So you got to be real careful with that stuff.
Absolutely.
But yeah, they do exist. But yeah, so I was able to play it in a much higher fidelity. Nowadays, I have the RetroTink 5X Pro, which you've seen the GameCube gameplay from.
Yeah.
I have HD Retrovision component cables for my SNES. SNES looks just about this good now out of the actual hardware thanks to those devices.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't done any recording with the 5X Pro on any video since on the Retron 5. I mean, since everything I've done has been the actual consoles because it took forever, but I was able to get everything souped up back there. Everything has some kind of better shielded cable, and et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
The one exception being N64. That one, it's coming. That one's better off. I don't know why that clip is so much darker, by the way.
Yeah, I just noticed that.
I don't understand why that happened.
Is there a day-night cycle?
No. It was recorded separately, so here's like some movie making situation here. So I had one of those like Mandela things.
Okay.
Where I was filming this and like Pippin died and I was like, what the heck, permadeath? But here's the thing, he wasn't killed by a wolf. Here I am thinking it was a wolf, and I go through and I make the whole bit. I do the whole cutaway gag with the werewolf thing. I make all of that. And then I go and make the footage. He's killed by a bat in the first dungeon. That's the first Pippin death. So then I was like, oh, what am I thinking of then? Well, fast forward some, and I reset the game, and he was killed by a wolf in that second playthrough. But the way that it happened didn't like look as good on capture.
Uh-huh.
So I recorded separately a third playthrough of just like letting him killed by a wolf.
Gotcha.
For the sake of like setting up the. Okay, so that footage there is from the movie Dog Soldiers, which if you haven't seen, you need to go see.
Yeah. It's on Vudu right now, I believe.
Oh, is it? It's by the guy that would go on to direct a lot of Game of Thrones season 1 made that movie. So.
Well, my phone was spying on me when you were telling me about that film. So all of a sudden, I had a bunch of ads for it. I was like, weird.
That's funny.
Dog Soldiers. So weird, yeah.
So what happened was he gets killed by a bat in this dungeon, and then I continue the dungeon without him. So I had to like go back and like record this solo incident of him being killed by a wolf because like the joke is out there and I worked really hard on it and I made this whole cutaway gag and it can't be for nothing. So
right.
Like I need to go create this situation now where he's killed by a wolf.
Right.
It happened in the second playthrough, but like not as I remembered it happening. Initially, at least, it's so bizarre. Gosh, these dungeons are awful. The scenery is so repetitive. You get lost. It's actually kind of mind-boggling how large this first little dungeon area is, considering it's like think about like the original Legend of Zelda. Mm-hmm. Like the first dungeon is you do it in 5 minutes.
Right.
It's so tiny.
Yeah.
This game is like, nah, you ain't gonna have none of that baby stuff here. The first dungeon is like 50 times the size of Zelda's biggest dungeon. Like it's crazy.
Wow.
Because I couldn't figure it out. I had to look up a walkthrough online, and I found this website that had like pictures, like assembled images of all the dungeons, and I see how big it really is, and I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you people?
What have I signed up for?
Like, how are you supposed to do this? It's crazy. It's all just to find some dude's glasses he lost in there. Like, get out of there with that. You do find some orcs, though.
Whoa, cool.
Yeah, there's an orc. Yeah, they die pretty easily. There's different kinds of orcs, though. There's green ones, and then there's blue ones. I think there's some gray ones at one point. Then there's big ones. There's big blue ones. Some big gray ones at one point.
Okay.
And that's all. Shut up.
Are there little blue ones and little gray ones
No.
and no?
What are you asking me? The game ships tomorrow. Like, no. There's no.
It's too late for all that.
Like, you know, Lord of the Rings, all these little cool fantasy things you could have done, whether it be like the Easternlies or Easterlies, whatever they call this, the men from the East, those pirate guys. There's all kinds of different wolves and goblins and orcs and the wraiths, the Urukai, the wargs, and they're like, nah, just take an orc and paint them blue and green and gray. So there's the glasses. I found them. Took like 20 minutes. It's ridiculous, dude. This is like one of those chore games where like you're playing it and you're like, it'll get better after I finish this part.
And then you say that for the next until you finish it.
Yeah.
When you see the credits, then you're like, it got better.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
I did like it when you're like out in the field walking around. I liked those parts of it, truthfully. I still wish there was some kind of map or like just if it was put together in a way that made it easy to understand like where you're going, where you've been, where you can go. But it's just like just like figure it out, dickhead. Like, it's just how it is, and like it's just not fun.
Games of that era typically give very little direction.
Well, it's like they want me to buy a magazine or something to like read how to do it. Cause like I look back at some games like this, and like Metroid's a good example. Like without a guide, how would anyone be able to beat that game?
Right.
Because to get from like say Brinstar to Norfair, and then like Norfair to Ridley involves like bombing these like secret floors that are like multiple blocks thick. It ain't like it's one line thick and you can see below and you're like, oh, well, I can bomb that. Like, how do you figure these things out organically?
I mean, we did.
I'll kill you.
We were kids. We didn't know what to do. We would just... We played through the game when we were kids. In the when did Super Metroid come out? 96?
Well, Super Metroid has a map. I'm talking about the original.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Yeah. Now, Super Metroid handles it perfectly, though. It doesn't straight up tell you where to go.
Right.
Like you're creating the map as you go, and then you can find map stations, but nothing is like blinking saying go here next. The original Metroid though has no map.
See, I don't think I've actually played the original one.
Oh, it's a nightmare. It's
with
a
no
fun
map,
game.
I would get completely lost and rage quit and
like
set fire to it all.
like it's a fun game, and I liked playing through it for that first video, but like I legitimately don't understand how someone could have played through and done it organically.
Right.
And if you have, more power to you. I imagine that would involve going into every single room and Wurf ball bombing every single square every time.
Right.
It's not fun.
That's not fun.
Ugh.
Talk about a chore.
Oh God! Otherwise, how would you have done it? That's the only way you would be able to do it. Is by taking gambles that this is the one spot.
Now, when you pulled up like the equipment stat menu earlier, I saw like strength and defense and all that, and I saw some equipment to the bottom left. Do you get new stuff? Or
Yes,
okay.
It overwrites, so you don't have like an inventory that you manage and select between. If you find like another sword, it's going to replace the current one that you have.
Like immediately, like as soon as you pick it up.
You have no choice but to pick it up, which is a
Gotcha.
problem for me later on in this game. There's a glitch with it. I also kind of talk about that scenario a second ago wrong. There's like this farm situation, and I couldn't find the footage.
Whoa,
to
is
it.
that a?
That's a ring wraith.
Jeez.
They just one hit kill you. Stay down. So what happens is you're not supposed to go that way. You're supposed to go down and around, and then you can end up there again, but from the other side, and it's different if you progress to a certain point, I guess. It's so funny.
You had to do it all again?
I tried to, no, I think it was just recapping what happened.
Gotcha. Okay.
My frustration. Yeah, you're supposed to go around all that, but you can walk through it if you position yourself very specifically, which is anywhere toward the middle-ish, because when they spawn, they can't catch up to you. If you walk at the top or the bottom, they are going to intercept you.
Oh my goodness.
But I made it. That's all 9 of them, and I made it. But you are not supposed to do that. So like, if you end up over here, that guy there tells you right away. He's like, oh, did you get the something gem? Blah, blah, blah. So right away I was like, I didn't get that gem, but I don't care. And then you walk to the right for like 6 minutes. And then I get to that guy, and he's like, do you have the other something gem?
Oh gosh.
So by skipping the ring rates like that, I've skipped key little quests that you get items for to then progress further in the game. Which at that point, I was like totally lost and frustrated. I've been playing it for like 2 or 3 hours at that point.
Oh my goodness.
And I was like, you know what? I'm really over this nightmare. And I decided to use a continue code that loads you with all of the parties. It's dark there again. I don't know why I did that.
Those red eyes are sweet though.
They are pretty cool. You failed your quest and allowed the ring to fall in the hands of Sauron. Yeah, so I got one of those codes, and it spawns you with all the party members. So here I am thinking, if I could do that, maybe the game would be a little more fun. I could just play through it, but by doing that, I also kind of break the game too, because you know it isn't like Mass Effect where you go through and you recruit people one by one,
Yeah.
and you can do it like in any order. Like imagine if recruiting someone meant that you progress the game to that point automatically. So like if I wanted to get Legion first, I get Legion, and then it auto completes everything that preceded him. That's what this game does. So you put in the continue code for getting like Aragorn and stuff, and it gives you all of them, but it also completes everything that went into getting him to begin with.
Right.
Which kind of breaks the game.
Absolutely.
Because then like every NPC is like, thanks for your help, citizen, and I can't
Right.
do anything. But I was like, I was gonna beat it.
Now, how are you playing as both? Is one of them AI
You have to hold
controlled?
you hold the shoulder button on the controller. Oh, I have it right here. You hold so you move around with the D-pad, right?
Okay.
I'm juking and jiving Frodo, and then you hold the shoulder button, and then I move it. Now I'm moving Pippin.
Oh gosh.
And they'll sometimes attack autonomously, but most of the time they don't. They just let themselves get hit by stuff, which is how he died. Because this is actually the first death right there. That was the first death recorded right there. That bat death was the first one. So like they don't react sometimes.
Right.
They just get killed, and I'm like, what the. And they don't come back, so like when they're dead, they're gone.
We only have one other party. Like it's crazy how difficult it can be to be mindful
It's a nightmare.
anything.
Yeah, that was at the earliest footage right there. I mean, just messing around, trying to understand how it all works.
Him getting a lot of free shots.
So you just let himself get, and like afterward, that might have been me doing that though. I'm not sure, but they do somewhat go on their own sometimes.
Gotcha.
You see it later in the game when they're all together. They're doing things I'm not doing it. Which leads me to put this code in, and this code, mind you, this wasn't a cheat code. I say it's a cheat code for comedy purposes. It's not a cheat code. It's a continue code.
Right.
That's how it was advertised to me, if my memory serves me correctly. I was not trying to cheat in the sense of like turning on God mode.
Right.
But I like inadvertently did that anyway. So I put in this code to like start with all the characters. That's what I wanted.
Right.
I just wanted all the characters.
Right.
Because I'm tired of Pippin dying immediately. I want all the characters. So I get all the characters. It makes me play as Aragorn. Frodo's brain is broken, which is why he's not moving anymore. I don't think I talk about that. One of their brains is always broken from that point forward. He just wouldn't move. But their stats got destroyed.
Really?
So like you'll see, I talk about it. So like you're used to seeing like level 19 he has 200 health, 50 that's okay. Level 23, but it's 13. Also 23, 21.
Their stats are
Like
7,598.
7,600 health. And like decent strength, but not strength that would be for level. He's like level 4. Frodo and Aragorn were normal, but everyone else was broken in some way. Gimli's got a lot of health too. His defense is really, really high, but his attack is low. Like he,
Weird.
it broke them all. Toward the end of it, Gimli was like a god.
Like a tank?
He would like smash things; they would die immediately.
Jeez.
I don't know what happened. So like putting in that code like broke it all. But I was like, I don't care. I got all the party. I got Aragorn. I got Gandalf. Like whatever. Not Gandalf yet, but like you know, I got all my dudes. I'm happy. Like I wanted to play Lord of the Rings. Like for God's sake.
Just give me the characters.
So what I then tried to do, to be fair, is it starts you off at that crossroads. So here I am thinking, oh well, now I could just go through the game like normal, but with my party members. But then I learned as I got further and further in, I learned that everything is complete. So like you go to this like farm in a second, and they're like, oh, thanks for your help, citizen. Here's your reward for this quest you already did. And I was like, oh, okay, bummer. And then like I got to cross over in this boat. I don't think I show that at all. You get to cross the river, like in the movie when they cross the river. You know, you do that.
Yep.
But again, it's already complete. It's like the quest to do that's done. I just do it. Yeah, this thing was already done. They were like under attack initially, and you can fight off orcs for them, I think. But it's already done, so it's like whatever. So like everything was done, which is like a good and a bad thing. It was good because I can get through the game. Oh, there's the boat. I did show it. It was good because I can get through the game. It's bad because I can't show a lot of it.
Right.
Because like you have to go through a whole thing to like get Legolas and stuff like that I just never saw because this code kind of ruined it. But I was so pissed that I didn't even care. Yeah, go Aragorn. Yeah, this part of the game was kind of fun. Just kind of walking around the wilderness, killing things, like killing the wolves and whatnot. That's like the most Lord of the Rings the game ever got. It's like moments like that. You're just kind of in the ambience of the environment, and walking around. Yeah, that's Elrond, I think, and this Gandalf. Hello, friends. Moria. Oh God. 1/3 of like all the time I put into this game was Moria.
Really?
Yeah, it's huge. You don't have a gateway gems. His name is Jean-Luc, by the way. French. It's a French elf. It's true. Frodo, as is known in the book, Frodo slayed the Balrog and like defended Helm's Deep from the invasion. He's a hero.
It's one of the greats.
Yeah, that would have been a lot cooler. And like it in a way, it is like set up like that, but not in a way that benefits my argument. Because like I don't think you can avoid doing a lot of that stuff because those gems you need. So I'm pretty sure you'd probably end up having to recruit a lot of those characters, but it would have been interesting if it was all built around like preparing for this expedition into Moria, but Moria's not that hard though. That's the problem. It's just long.
Really?
Yeah. So like, what happens is you go into Moria, and this is where the scenery is just like they do like literally copy and paste scenery. So like you're going through like the same like little double hallway area like 100 times. I did my best to show it, but it was kind of hard to go back and like pull footage from it. So it's like a nightmare to navigate. But then what happens is there's like, oh my god, like 10 or 12 different sprawling areas, and they're not linked in a linear fashion. So like area 1 goes to like area 3, area 5, area 2, area 6, area 8. Like the way that it like links off is like crazy weird, and like you have to go through some areas to the very end of them to grab some like key or something, and like backtrack all the way and go this way, this specific way. You're collecting keys and tomes to open up specific doors to continue going through.
Right.
As it's happening, which on paper is fine, but when you mix that into the situation where they're just copying and pasting scenery left and friggin' right, you get lost. You don't know what you're doing, where you're going,
absolutely.
why you're going the way you're going. Like it's nothing. It isn't like Zelda dungeons, especially the 3D era ones, are set up so great because like as you solve puzzles, you open up new areas. It like flows in a very logical way.
Right.
When you're solving puzzles the right way. That doesn't mean that they're easy though. Like they're just designed well.
You get an item and you automatically know where to go based on no text that's telling you. You just know based on the item you got, okay, that means I can go here now. Based on keys I have or whatever the case may be.
It's like a great like simple example for that is like the first major dungeon in Twilight Princess. It involves all of those like wind-based things. So you're going through the dungeon and you're seeing all the wind propeller stuff that you can't mess with.
Exactly.
You can't touch it. You know it's there. You see environments where the wind pushes things for you. Then when you finally get the Gale Boomerang, you remember where you saw the various things, and you know you can go experiment now and see where you go from there. It flows. This game doesn't do that. Like, it's such a nightmare. God, it was a couple days of recording to do it all because it was just so draining. It's just not fun. And yeah, and then some screens just like end like that. So it's like what's a dead end? What's not? Yeah, this scenery repeats a lot too. This like 3-cell thing, you see a lot of that. Ugh. Smash. Yeah, like one of the some of the characters they just stab and they just immediately just dead. Like the enemies just die instantly. Some of them don't though. The red one, he's tough apparently. But there's Frodo hanging back there because his brain's broken. He doesn't move. Yeah, there's the same scenery again. It's not me repeating the same. That's just they just do that. So there's a pale orc. Oh God.
Looks like gore.
You know the one wacky thing too is that you can't stack healing items either. You only carry one of each type. Which there are multiple types. There's like mushrooms, ferns, magical ferns, and something else. You can have like 3 of them on hand, but you don't like collect the mushroom and then get like 2. Like it burns off whatever you're collecting.
Gotcha.
Which is really interesting. But then here we go. It's final battle.
So like a horde mode style finish?
That would have been cool.
Yeah.
You find all the goblins are coming out of the walls.
Yeah,
Like freaking Starship Troopers with the bugs. It's like what happens. That is an awesome sequence. I love what they did with the Balrog in the new movie, in Peter Jackson's version. He walks with like his arms are like this. He's walking like he's coming to wreck your day.
I love the whip too.
Oh yeah,
The whip is so cool.
Here he is.
Pretty cool. The description of this creature in the book is a little bit vague, leaving it up to the imagination.
Yeah, in the book you don't really know. It's like anyone's guess as to what it actually looks like.
Really?
Yeah, that's why they look so radically different across all the different movies and games, because there's no definitive like this is what a Balrog looks like.
Well, it's funny because in the Dungeons and Dragons world, which I'm sure you're familiar with, it's a Baelor. I mean, it's pretty much a Baelor. The demon looks like the exact same. Horns on the sides, flame whip, carries a fire sword, got wings, got a tail. It's like
That's where they probably pulled this from then, because I mean, Lord of the Rings was written like in like the 40s and 50s.
Right.
But I mean, yeah, I could definitely see like this easily. All kinds of games and movies were pulling from D&D.
Right.
After D&D came out and like established all these basic ideas about like what different
Yeah.
You know, like everyone knows what an evil eye is. You know, it's like stuff like that just permeates throughout pop culture.
Yeah. Just when you watch Peter Jackson's Fellowship of the Ring, and you see that scene, it's like, man, there's a lot of inspiration there from the Baelor, from D&D for sure, and of course in reverse.
He kills. So your player controlled character here is Aragorn. Mm-hmm. Aragorn dies. It's game over.
Whoa!
So Gandalf's dead.
He just incinerated Gandalf.
He turned him into a skeleton. Yeah. So if Aragorn dies, it's game over, right?
Okay.
That Balrog kills Aragorn in 3 hits. And you only have like 2 or 3 hits. Legolas is dead. Remember how Legolas died in Moria? So you can only hit him when he's not attacking and like in a very specific kind of spot, and he flinches like, "Urgh."
Okay, yeah, I was about to say.
But it's not really clear how much. Well, there's not clear at all how much health he has. You're just whacking at him. You have no idea what's going to work or not.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's usually dead within 10 seconds. Gimli's flying.
I was about to say, what's going on with Gimli?
I couldn't tell you what happened, but it glitched out, and he exited the barrier and is now walking around in black space.
And he's walloping the Baelor.
Yeah, he got... So, here's the problem. There are areas besides this battle arena you can explore still. There's an upgraded axe, and there's an upgraded sword. I got both of them before fighting him. Turns out, there's a glitch in the game. Those items do no damage.
Do no damage?
0. They do 0 damage. So here I am whacking on him for like half an hour. It was like 18 minutes of like just doing this. And he's not dead yet. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? And I look up like someone else's gameplay of this game. Like I see them beat him, and I was like, okay. Well, then I found out that same guide I was pulling the maps from also put like a "don't get these weapons" thing on there, and I was like,
oh my
no! Goodness! Now, thankfully, since I was playing on a Retron 5, Retron 5 supports save states.
Oh, thank goodness!
And I made a point to make a save state at every major kind of chapter I did. So I was able to load up one that was not too far before this whole thing started, and then just try it again without getting upgraded weapons. But again, it was like 20 minutes of this, just friggin' busted Gimli and Sam. That's Samwise right there with his 7,800 health.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So they're just whomping on us for like 9 years. I forgot what I was watching. I had some like TV show thing on that I was just like watching and like not even like paying attention. I didn't even see the moment where he died.
Really?
That's how out of it that I was. Yeah, I was like just hitting the buttons, watching the show. It was probably Numbers or CSI or something. I put this on as background noise a lot. Yeah, that's where I talk about the weapons being broken. If I was playing on the actual SNES, I would have been screwed. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It has a whole OS and everything. It's awesome. It's really cool. They don't even sell them anymore. You have to buy like this newer, weird special edition of them. Unless you can find them secondhand. I got lucky with that.
So why would the developers put weapons in the final dungeon that don't work?
Well, they're supposed to work. They just don't know that they don't. They can't patch it. The game's shit.
Did they not play test these things? That is insane.
I would say it might have been a product of porting it to PC, and then they just were pretty lax on quality assurance, I guess.
Possibly, yeah, that's a fair point.
That's my only theory there.
Just
like you can't tell. Like, oh, look, that's dead. I love how like they don't just die; they like burst into skeleton bones and turn to dust. Like it's so brutal. Oh, right in the hip. I have no idea what his attack even is. It looks like he's charging something, but like it never actually fires off.
You can't play as him?
No. He's dead. He just poofed. That was it. Which, by the way, they don't like definitively stab him to death in the source material. It's like, why is this even a boss fight? It should have been like a giant, like, you fight off the orcs, the orc horde for like 10 minutes. Then you have to escape the Balrog. That would have been more accurate. And don't get me wrong, it's a fun idea to fight him, but like, still, they didn't give it the reverence it deserved to be that kind of situation. Like, not at all. But then this is hilarious. So like, then you get like this kind of end credits-y kind of situation here, where the game's telling you like how good you did, but like everyone's dead. I mean, look, it's Frodo, Sam, Gimli, and Aragorn. So Legolas died, Pippin died, Merry died, Gandalf died. Like
there is no Two Towers. No. And I guess there's Return of the King, but maybe not.
It wouldn't work because Minas Tirith wouldn't get the heads up from Gandalf and Merry or Pippin that Sauron's coming. And then it gives you like right out of the stuff, it gives you that like fountain scene where they're like, look at the Shire, it's so happy, and then it turns into hell. Like they do that like in the game, but during this, the goofy like flute music is playing. Like it doesn't get like all like hardcore. It's like so I put it over this. You probably can't hear it. Oh, it's so great. That's the special edition. Yep. Oh, here we go. More nonsense. So that was a simple effect. It was just in reverse.
Yeah.
I had to do it very slowly, though. So I wanted to, like, hearken into the fact that I used that code. So it's like, this is happening because I used the code.
Right.
It's my punishment, basically.
I don't know why it's doing that. I beat the game like you said.
Kind of see like what games I have back there. I'm gonna zoom in like that. Metal Gear Solid. Jaws for Wii.
No More Heroes for the Wii.
That's before I got that Batman game that you like.
Uh-huh.
You wimp! Figuring out the voice for the wizard character was a little bit of a process too.
Really?
Because when I first recorded it, the voice was different. I kind of set on this like halfway point between doing like this one voice and like Tom Hardy's Bane.
Nice.
That's in my head. That's what I'm doing to do that voice. I'm talking like Bane from Batman. Yeah. That's what it is. Which, by the way, means my mouth opens pretty wide, which I get beard hairs in there all the time. It's awful. I'd be like... So I do like my own version of like the thing that he says. I'm a servant of Nintendo power. Wielder of Game Pass. Bane of early access. I see, like, microtransactions will not avail you.
Yeah.
I wrote that out pretty early on, too, actually, in the process. I knew I would do that at some point.
It is past. Evil has been vanquished.
I tried to film all those Gary scenes at once.
Really?
To avoid having to get in the costume as much as I had to do.
Right.
But I think it was like multiple days because I'm pretty sure that whole sequence was a separate day. That this was all one day. All the scenes of him standing around there were done at once.
Spare all the stuff in between. Play this awful game. That killed Pippin twice. Three times, actually.
The Balrog. The
That was
Balrog
good.
got him. Yeah. Everyone remembers. It's like, imagine like the Peter Jackson version when like the Balrog's like walking behind him before they get to the bridge and like it just swipes the sword and Pippin's like.
Oh,
You'll figure it out.
That's what it was. I was thinking of differences between the versions. The animated version, Boromir gets hit with like 7 arrows
right.
before he goes down.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. Like, because he pulls out like a couple of them. He gets
Yeah.
hit with more. And I was like, oh my god, he's unstoppable. But like in the Peter Jackson, it's like 3. But he's on his knees by 3, which is realistic.
Right.
But it was like the animated one is like a mutant or something.
He looks like a freaking cactus by the end of it.
Yeah.
Renaissance kicked off in like
I don't think he actually fights the though after he gets hit.
a lot of games like
I'm pretty sure he just hits the horn after he gets struck once. And all the orcs are like keeping a distance from him. Whereas the Sean Bean one gets kills after getting
Yeah.
shot twice. Because he's a badass.
Yeah.
pretty good. But there's stuff that
Have you ever seen the extended editions? I'm assuming you have. What?
No. You know, it's funny. After I saw them in theaters, I was never really like super, which is funny because I'm like a fantasy buff, right?
Yeah.
But I've just never really like gotten really into that world. You know what I mean?
Well, the
I
extended...
haven't seen the Hobbit 1, 2, or 3.
That's fine.
I haven't seen really all the only Lord of the Rings media I've seen is, you know, Peter Jackson's 1, 2, and 3, and the animated one. That's really it.
For me, it's extended or nothing. Like,
Really?
Honestly, yeah. I got all 3 of them on Blu-ray individually, and they were the extended editions, and I was like friggin' 2011 I got those or something like that. And then the 4K ones are extended too. But like, obviously, it's a big ask to be like, come sit down and watch this 4.5-hour movie.
Oof, yeah.
But like, if you are a fantasy fanatic and like you do like Lord of the Rings,
Yeah.
you have to have both of these traits in you.
Right.
It's awesome. Like,
What does it add?
oh my god, tons of stuff. You get more scenes of Boromir actually in the first in Fellowship.
I love Sean Bean. So
Yeah, you get
I
more of
love it.
him. Gosh, there's it's everywhere. Like
Okay.
it isn't like it's just like 1 or 2 giant things.
Right,
Like
right.
it is just pitter pattered everywhere.
Gotcha.
There's like much more stuff about the Hobbiton. You get more stuff with them. There are like entire little chunks with an action sequences that are added too.
Okay.
There's like more of the cave troll, like
Okay.
stuff like that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I need to check that out.
It's really cool stuff. I like it a lot. It's my preferred way of watching them. My dad and I watch them like every year.
Nice.
So like at some point, even multiple times even, but at some point I'm popping in the trilogy and we're going through them. Usually in December, but it just depends. Sometimes I get a taste for it earlier in the year and I'll just do it. It's cool stuff. Oh, there's an entire character. The Mouth of Sauron is only in the extended version of Return of the King.
What?
He's like this emissary of Sauron. He looks kind of goofy. He has like this like crazy giant like shark man mouth, but it's cool because he like comes out. He explains what they do with the mithril vest in Return of the King because that gets taken from Frodo. Remember?
Right.
His character explains what happened to it. He takes it out front of the Black Gates and shows Aragorn like, oh, we've already killed the hobbit. See, here's the proof. And Aragorn cuts his head off.
Whoa.
And I was like, whoa! This is cool stuff. He's the only character that talks like he's from the books, too.
Really?
He's like, I have a token I was bidden to show thee. And he shows out the mithril vest. It's kind of, I can see why they cut it, but at the same time, it's like stuff like that I love.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And he came out after all these. Which it actually didn't, because again, it's a PC port, which I didn't know making this video. So it technically predates some of those things.
It is hard to believe how early on A Link to the Past came out and how ahead of its time it was.
Yeah. A Link to the Past. I haven't played that one all the way through. I played like half of it. I need to go back and finish that one. Well, there we go. Our viewing party of Lord of the Rings, the Super Nintendo review. Good time. That was a giant production. Capture footage in June. Didn't film anything until 6 months later. Luckily, I took notes.
Yeah.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I think I know why those other shots are dark. It's probably because I recorded them in December, and I think the capture settings were different. It was something I didn't notice until after filming Alone in the Dark with Cameron, that the RGB settings got messed up. And I had to fix them. It was doing like the wrong type of output for full range versus limited, and it was making things look artificially darker. That's probably what it was.
Gotcha.
Because if you watch our Alone in the Dark videos, they are both like so dark.
Really?
And they're not supposed to be that dark. It's because something got... OBS did an update and settings were reset, and I think I redid them wrong, and it made them really dark. But I fixed it since. Not a problem anymore. But that might be why those clips are dark, because those were recorded when I was filming actively. Because, like, I had to record a new version of Pippin being killed, right?
Right.
Because I thought, he got killed by wolves. Well, 6 months later, it's bats.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I had to go back and now, like, get him killed by wolves, basically. So stuff like that happens. But, yeah. Well, there we go. 3D Dot Game Heroes coming at some point. Once again, recorded the capture footage. Here we are months later.
That looks really interesting.
It's a funny little game. It's like a Zelda / Final Fantasy, 80s era inspired kind of a adventure game.
This was the first Retro Boost video I watched.
The first.
This was the first one.
That would have been the most recent review video. I think my favorite is. Probably the Luigi's Mansion one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that one was the most fun to make. Because that was like me and my parents together for like the bulk of it.
Yeah.
Which is like a lot of fun memories.
Definitely.
My dad dicking around in that costume. Being like a maniac. This one was like all on my own.
Right.
It was all me. But it was fun. This one has the most growth in terms of filmmaking. Because again, all the different sound production qualities to it. A lot of work went into filming like this beginning sequence, especially, was like a ton of work. It was like, oh man, a good bulk of it was just editing together this stuff because of all the different things went into it, all the different shots, and what do I do for sound. So, hoping for big things for the next one too. We'll see. 3D Dot Game Heroes will probably be a short one, another like 20-minute one. My goal. But then,
Perfect. Yeah.
But after that, maybe I'll go insane. So we'll see.
Sounds good.
Well, that's it, everyone. Thanks for joining us on this commentary, conversation, adventures. We will see you on the next one.